we can get ready to get started.
Test. Oh.
Good morning. What a wonderful blessing to have this opportunity to not be behind a screen and to have a chance to just look out and see everyone and not be behind a screen myself. Certainly welcome you. I thank you for being here. I recognize that this is a Friday and that you could be anywhere else in the world, but you have chosen to be here, and we are certainly appreciative of that. First things first, certainly want to thank the Transportation Cabinet, because if it was not for them, then we would not be here in this venue. Certainly want to thank them. As well, just the way that things look, it's beautiful. I'm quite sure you saw the setup where the food was, and there was some hard work that was put in. These young ladies that are sitting right here did a wonderful job, as well as some others. I saw, so yesterday, later, most definitely, with the beautiful plants and things of that nature. Thank you so much, man. We really appreciate that. I think that adds a significant component to what we're doing here. So again, welcome. Thank you so much. First things first, we have a special announcement, actually, and it's, I won't say special, an announcement. We have the opportunity to hear from a very special person. Very special person. So I'm going to take a back seat and ask this individual to come up, and I will give her the floor. Dr. Corringer.
Morning. I have the opportunity, which I am blessed to have, to say goodbye to everybody at the same time. And I just want to say, you probably all know me as a person of few words, but I hope that they're important words when I do say them, that it's been a privilege working with you. I've gotten to know some of you better than others, but it's been a very difficult year and a half, I know, and hopefully we're coming close to moving out into the light. And I know that we've all shared the same purpose, and we value the services that we provide people, and you will continue to do that. I hope you'll stay in touch, and I do mean that. I've moved a lot in my life, and I have been disappointed when people don't want to remain in touch, but I understand life gets in the way. So I appreciate you all, and I appreciate this special announcement opportunity so that I could see you one more time before I go. Take care. Be well.
All right, so let's get to work really quickly. So I just want to talk about a few things, and let me shape this conversation. My intent is to work off of the 1/3, 2/3 rule. That is, we want to hear in Frankfurt take no more than 1/3 amount of the time and give you an opportunity for the remaining 2/3, because we want to learn from you, and it's intentional for you to be here to have the opportunity to present the wonderful things that you're doing out across the 120 counties in the state of Kentucky. So we will be very brief here from Frankfurt, but I just wanted to capture just a few things and talk about just one or two things that I think are significant. There have been a multitude of things that have changed, so I have been here for 7 months, and please know, by no stretch of the imagination am I a subject matter expert, because I'm not. My knowledge as far as adult education is minimal. I'm running as fast as I can to try to catch up. I know it doesn't matter that if I ran 500 miles per hour that I would never have the opportunity to gain the subject matter expertise that you have. So I appreciate that and I respect that, and please know that that is not missed on me. But I want to talk about progress versus movement. So they are similar, but they are very distinct because they both involve motion, but when we start talking about direction, we want to be in the business of progress, and we want to move forward, we want to move further, and we want to do things better, and I'm quite sure that we will be able to do that. So what I wanted to do is, just from a conceptual standpoint and from a process standpoint, to be able to explain how this process works. So adult education, so in the state of Kentucky and in the 50 states across the union, adult education, this is a federal program. This is a federal program. The U.S. Department of Education, this is their program. And we take our orders and requirements from Octave. So this is a federal program that is administered by the state. It's administered by the state, and by Senate Bill 1 in the state of Kentucky, it is executed by a local provider network. That's you. So, being that this is a federal program, we, the state of Kentucky, is the grantee. So this is the actual grant they award, and actually the recipient of the grant from USDOE is the Secretary of the Education and Workforce Development Cabinet. So the Secretary is actually the grantee on behalf of the state. This is the actual grant. So the state of Kentucky is the grantee. The local providers, you are the sub-grantees. Sub-grantees, you do all of the heavy lifting, you do all of the work. So that's just how this process works from a process standpoint. And we are governed by the statutes that you well know much better than I do. From Title II, from Senate Bill 1, and the state plan. So what's significant about the grant is that the grant says that the grant award is pursuant to the grantee's approved state plan under the Workforce Act, the approved state plan. So what does the state plan say? And this is significant because I've heard a lot of things in 7 months, some good, some not so good. But one of the things that I've heard is that we've been mandated to focus exclusively on the GED, which has prevented us from focusing on the other things that we're charged to do and funded to do by the federal government. So if the grant is based on the approved state plan, and you already know this, but I'm just going to read from the grant. These are the things that we are funded to do concurrently. We need to do all of these things, and we should be organized and staffed to conduct all of these things per the state plan. Adult education, literacy, English language, workforce ed and literacy, family literacy, workforce preparation, IET, and everything that falls within that scope. We're not just the GED people. We're not just the GED people. We have to do all of those things concurrently, not because the new guy says so, it's because the federal government says so. And the way that the program works is that we're funded by the federal government and the state government matches the funds. So we get somewhere between $9 and $10 million from the federal government, and the requirement is that the states, not only Kentucky, but all 50 states, match dollar for dollar. That's the minimum standard. Kentucky far exceeds that. Kentucky is invested in adult ed more significantly than most of the states in the union. So we get from the general budget from the state approximately $20 million. So Kentucky doubles that. They doubles that. So they have doubled down and they are investing in adult education. So I just wanted to be clear and just to set some left and right limits as to see and to explain exactly what the program is. It's a federal program. It is administered by the state and executed by a local provider network, which is stipulated in Senate Bill 1. So you do all of the heavy lifting. And God knows that the state of Kentucky thanks you for that. But the grantee is actually the secretary of this cabinet. So that is just the process. So a few things. Let's keep the main thing the main thing. Performance equals people. So when I say performance, we're not just exclusively talking about numbers, because every number is equal to a person, whether that is a GED, whether that is a measurable skill gain, whether that is anything that falls within the content of the state plan. That is a Kentuckian. That is a Kentuckian. That is a Kentuckian. We serve non-traditional students. We do. Our population between the ages of 18 and 64, we serve non-traditional students. So we have to do things in a non-traditional way. So I have been trying to make my rounds around the state. As many of you know, I am not a native Kentuckian, but I'm trying to learn Kentucky. So I'm putting a lot of miles on my car and going here and going there. First of all, I'm trying to see Kentuckians. So I'm trying to see Kentuckians. So if I just so happen to show up at your doorstep, I'm just trying to meet Kentuckians. So I may or may not tell you that I'm coming. I may just jump in the car one day and say, hey, look, I want to see Kentuckians in western Kentucky or maybe in northern Kentucky. And I'll just jump in the vehicle and then go. And if that leads me to your doorstep, then that's where it leads me. So we serve non-traditional students, which means that we have to do non-traditional things, which I know that you have been doing, which is why I am excited to hear these best practices. So as we move through this process. Human engagement is important. So because we serve non-traditional students, then human engagement is important. And I say that because we want to leverage and maximize technology. Trust me. I was in higher ed when the pandemic hit, and it was extremely difficult for faculty members, particularly some who have been doing this for decades, to make that quick transition to online instruction. Well, this is what I want to say. The virtual space and all of the wonderful things that technology gives us supplements but does not supplant instruction. Supplements does not supplant. Now, I have taught in every modality, face-to-face, synchronous, and asynchronous. Asynchronous instruction is still instruction. The only thing different between asynchronous and in-person is the modality, the way that the instruction is delivered. We cannot just sit non-traditional students in front of an application and then expect them to learn the content and then come to us with questions. We need to teach them. That's what we do. We spend a lot of time, we invest a lot of time in professional learning. And I'm still learning what's going on, but we spend a lot of time in professional learning, bringing in all types of folks across the state and across this nation to provide instruction so we can gain in subject matter expertise. And so in my small mind, I'm thinking that that is going to aid the instructors, the wonderful instructors that we have, to be able to be better instructors and to teach the students that we serve, not only in the GED space, but in all of the spaces that we're funded and that we're charged and mandated to do. Subject matter experts. I'm not a subject matter expert in adult ed. I probably never will be. Well, let me be candid. I will never be. You are. You are. One thing I do know, though, is I know people. And I think I'm a subject matter expert in people and dealing with people. But you are the subject matter experts. So I take my hat off to you. We could not do this without you because that's not a skill set that I have. So if you look at the symbols, so that arrow between the state and so the grantee and the sub-grantee is intentional. It's two ways. It's two ways. It works both ways. Let's be honest. This would not happen without you. I could go away 5 minutes from now, and it probably wouldn't even make a difference. But if you went away, then everything falls apart. So you are the heavy lifters. You make this thing happen. You serve Kentuckians. So this has nothing to do with me, but I wanted that to symbolize that we are in this together. We're in this together. Now, I recognize that perhaps in the past the standard has been maybe to be kind of hands-off. That doesn't exist anymore. We're going to be engaged with you, hands-on, because just like you, we're all invested in Kentucky. So we're going to be hands-on. We're not going to tell you how to do it because you're the subject matter expert. I couldn't do that anyway because I don't know. You know it, but we're going to assist you in any way possible. We're going to assist you in any way possible, which means that we may come down and say, hey, look, they're doing some wonderful things in this program, in that program, maybe in this state. We recommend that you try this. And we're going to be there to work with you. Likewise, and I tell folks all the time, if you think that we're doing something here in Frankfurt, especially if I'm doing something, then give me a call and say, hey, that's dumb. Stop doing that. That's not benefiting Kentuckians. Trust me. I'm a big boy. My wife tells me like all the time, you're screwing up. Get yourself together. So I'm used to it. I am used to it. Best practices. That's what we're here for, to hear best practices. So what we have done is we have broken the network up into the top third, the middle third, and the bottom third. So let's be honest. We're all on the same team. We're all on the same team. But just like we get ranked by the federal government as a state, we all get ranked. And I'll be honest with you, some things, as far as a state, we're doing well. Some things we are above the nation as far as the average. Other things we're not doing so well. Likewise, so we're going to give the opportunity to those who are currently in the top third to provide some best practices so we all can be in the top. And so that's exactly what we want to do. Monitoring and assessment. We have to do that. That's a mandate from the federal government. Now, what that is going to look like is going to be a little bit different. So we're not going to chase reports. Just not going to do that. The CARE system is a database, just like every other database that exists in the world. I'm not saying that it's good or it's bad. I recognize that there's some functionality challenges with it. That's not for me to say. I'm not a tech guy. I'm not an IT person. But yes, the system does have some functionality challenges. You know that. You know that. But we're not chasing reports. Now, we will use the reports as we go out and monitor, which is mandated by the federal government to assist you, to support you, to help you. So that's a process that is already baked into the cake. Continuous improvement. Look, so we have federal goals, a negotiated measurable skill gain rate that we have to meet. That's just the bottom line. And the measurable skill gain is a component of a multitude of different things. As you all know, so there are 5 types. Also on the state side, the state has goals. Long before I got here, the enrollment goal for the state of Kentucky is 20,000. Okay, I had nothing to do with that. The GED attainment goal for the state of Kentucky is 5,000. Doing my research, we have never really approached those numbers that I have seen. So I don't know if those are the right numbers or not, but they are the numbers because someone above me said so. So that's our goal. The theme is continuous improvement. That starts with me. We all have to continue to improve to reach that goal and hopefully achieve that goal and exceed that goal, but continuous improvement. I recognize that this is the pandemic, that we're still in the midst of the pandemic and all of the things. I see the national trend based on the pandemic and the totality of the circumstances associated with the pandemic. But we all have to continue to improve because even though we're still in the midst of the pandemic, this cabinet, the state, who is actually the grantee for the federal government, they're asking questions. And they should, because they're the grantee. They're on the line. They are the recipient. The money is given to them. So they can ask questions. So where are we in relationship to the GED goal? Where are we in relationship to the enrollment goal, which feeds the measurable skill gains requirement that we have from the federal government? So it's all synchronized. So that's just the cost of doing business. And you probably know, so I am a public policy person as far as the things that I teach. So you know, we're dealing with public policy and grants and grant writing, particularly with the federal government. There are requirements. There are deliverables and there are requirements that the state is beholden to. And since they have those requirements, then they're asking me, and likewise I'm trying to figure out the best way to respond to them in the most appropriate manner without tap dancing. Now, but I got a little age on me. I still can dance a little bit, but it's not what I prefer to do. I prefer to have the answer, and if I don't have a response that is the answer that they are looking for, my intent is to give them some solutions and not say, well, you know, ma'am or sir, you know, we're just not meeting standard. So now we all recognize the impact of the pandemic. I know you're working hard. I know you're doing some wonderful things, but we're going to try from here in Frankfurt to assist you and to support you. So it's no longer hands off. We're going to be right there in it with you. We're not going to tell you how to do it. We will definitely recommend some things now, and I will tell you. So I'm going to be candid. If we look at what's going on as far as your programs from a performance standpoint, yes, we will recommend some things, but we're certainly going to encourage you to implement those recommendations. So we are certainly not going to minimize your subject matter expertise and what you do for the people that you serve. But we're going to be right in this thing with you. And once again, we serve all Kentuckians, so 18 to 64. So some of the other things that are mentioned in the state plan is we deal with justice-involved citizens. Now, they are not a sub-grantee, so we don't give them funds directly, but you work with them in a significant manner. And I've gotten multiple calls here over the last week and a half, particularly from jails. So if you know how the state of Kentucky is constructed, Kentucky has, I believe, 13 prisons and 76 independent jails. Now, if you look at their cabinet, they say, as far as the department is concerned, that the jails kind of fall up under the DOC, but they don't. And they don't really across the nation, so that may kind of throw you, but that is consistent with how things are done across this country. So the 76 independent jails, so Kentuckians are depending on you to do the things that you do to build these partnerships and these types of things so they can get the services that they need. Now, we're going to help you here from Frankfurt, and so we're going to do all that we can do. I just ask that when we have an opportunity to engage in some partnerships that we actually do that. Because I'll be honest, I've been going around talking a lot of mess and trash, if you will, and telling people what we do and what we can do. The problem with that is I can't cash the check because I'm not a subject matter expert and I don't do the heavy lifting. You do. So all I'm doing is going by what we are mandated to do and telling people, hey, look, this is what we do. So I just left a meeting this morning with some folks from CPE. A fine young lady who advised me that she had been with CPE since the 1990s. And she had no idea that adult education did anything other than the GED. Now think about that now. She's been with CPE since 1990. And this organization came from CPE and was a part of CPE for I don't know how many years. I mean, for decades. This is what she just told me. She said, I had no idea. I said, oh, really? I said, we're going to do some things a little bit different. So we're going to maximize your subject matter expertise. And so we're going to take advantage of how smart you are and your big brains. And I'm going to try to get out of the way and not mess it up and let you do what you do. So if we can be in agreement with that, and as long as you are in the business of serving people and serving Kentuckians, then we have the perfect relationship, because that's the business that I'm in, and you've been in it in this state significantly longer than me. So I appreciate what you do and how you do it. Now, as we move forward, we're going to have some highlights really quick, and I spoke a little bit longer than I actually wanted to, but I think Janet is up next, and she's going to go from here and talk about some new things that we have going on, and hopefully you'll be excited about it.
Good morning. Good morning. You feel energized after that? I do. So just a little bit of a timeline from the outreach standpoint. And if those of you who might be new that don't know me, I think I know everybody, but I'm Janet Sladen, and I do recruitment and outreach. And in that, I try to assist you with recruiting and providing outreach to your community, recruiting students, and that kind of thing. But as Dr. Gregory said, we serve Kentuckians. So we're going to be recruiting Kentuckians, our fellow Kentuckians, to take part in the good work that we do. So the first thing is the recruitment and outreach toolkit will be released either by the end of the day or by Monday, all right? The reason it's a little bit late this time is because in the midst of creating something for December, I thought, hang on, you guys are going to be, most of you are going to be on vacation the last couple of weeks of December, and so you might like to have some things to schedule ahead of time for the new year and that kind of thing. So I've added in New Year, kind of winter-themed things. It'll still include most of the things that it has, some flyers for you to use, a social media bank, some desktop wallpaper that you can ask your partners to put on their desktops, like the libraries, the career centers, and they will be editable so that you can put your own information in there and that kind of thing. I probably need to do a quick webinar for you guys to show you how to use QR codes and things like that, and how to input that kind of imagery on some of your outreach items so that people can just take their, folks have been using QR codes to access menus to restaurants and things like that. We ought to have, most people ought to have some kind of knowledge of that. So we're looking to use some different things to make it, the outreach items a little more interesting and a little more on trend and up to date in the in 2021 and 22. So many of you for many years have had feelings about the Kentucky Skills U brand, and we have listened, and we will sunset the Kentucky Skills U brand. You're welcome. On December 31st. Now, the caveat with that is that we will not be able to release the new brand until it receives a firm approval from the cabinet and perhaps even the lieutenant governor and governor as well. The lieutenant governor and governor will tell you quickly that they are an education first administration, and they have taken a shine to us, and we're tickled with that. As you saw with our My Story Reimagined event at the Rotunda, they were tickled to death to be a part of our celebration, and they made it really, really cool for us. So they have an interest in us and what we're doing, and so they may be interested in that as well. So what the new branding will look like will be, which is being created, and sort of all the creative work is being done by Red 7E, which is a very fine marketing firm in Louisville that does lots and lots of work with Kentuckians, with other state agencies. They work with Churchill Downs and things like that. So they are going to do they've done some really good work for us and are continuing to do that. So some things are in process, and we will have a timeline for you whenever they pass that along to me, and I receive approval, I will pass along to you. So we have a new logo, very simple, and you'll be able to see that in the next slide. We have a revamping of our website. We noticed with our website that that we are sending people to our website, but one thing that Dr. Gregory pointed out when he first came here is, where are we going? Where do students go in this website? And it started making me think about navigating websites. And I want to talk to you later on in a webinar about how we navigate, how students, how we are going to be more visible, and how they access us easily. So that made me think, okay, well then our website needs to be accessible to the public. So we are redesigning along with the logo. We've got rebranding that'll happen not just with the logo but with the website and that kind of thing as well. There will be a video that is underway now that Red 7E is shooting for us that will be sort of a reintroduction of who we are and what we do. This will not only go out to the public, but it will be particularly sent to our partners in the governmental agencies that we work with, not only in the education and workforce development cabinet, but in all cabinets. We want them to know who we are, what we do, because as Dr. Gregory said, we're more than a GED. Do we agree with that? We've known about these things for years. I've been right out there working with you. We've offered tons of things for many years, but over time the focus changes. But according to federal law, we're supposed to be doing all these things, right? So we want everyone to know we do all these things. Cool? The other thing is that we are also, we will also be, it's taking a little more time because of some reworking some budget issues and things like that, but we will be working to launch My Story Reimagined as soon as we possibly can. Red 7E is also working on that as well. So, are you dying to see the possible new logo? Okay. What do you think? Yes, no? Okay. The request was that it be simple and that it do two things. First, it just says who we are. Plain and simple, we're the office or the Kentucky Office of Adult Education, right? But we also provide educational opportunities. The cool thing about this is I don't anticipate, these are just different colorways that they have chosen. I don't anticipate that our leadership will pick Tennessee orange, but hopefully they will, hopefully they will pick Kentucky blue or the green that is a familial color with the cabinets branding. But the other cool thing about that mortarboard there in the center is that it is upward moving. We hope that there's a subliminal imagery there that we are upward moving. No matter what service that you, any Kentuckian comes to us for, we want this to move you forward. We're moving you forward. So I hope that you like this. We have gone through several iterations of different logos and things like that, but one thing we wanted to make sure of is that we didn't have to spend time explaining the logo. We need to be simple in that this is who we are, and this is what we do, and this is how we can serve Kentuckians. Okay, that's all I've got. Any questions, we can talk about it later on in the session where we have a question and answer time. So, Natalie, I think you're next.
Gotta get your folders. Good morning, everybody. It is lovely to see faces in person. I've been trying to go around and say hi to everybody who I haven't seen in person in like 2 years. But anyway, if you don't know me, I'm Natalie Cummins. I'm your GED administrator, and I have been now for just over 2 years, if you can believe that. That's pretty wild. Just give you a few updates from my side of the house. We are doing a whole lot better this year on GED testing capacity than, of course, we were this time last year when a lot of centers were still closed because of pandemic restrictions. Prison testing was non-existent. Jail testing was practically non-existent. So this year we've got, now it's just over 100 of our testing centers across the state are active, have been active this fiscal year. You can see that 63 of those are public, either fixed or mobile units that are attached to those public-facing centers, and then the jails and the prisons. Online proctor testing is definitely here to stay. I know that some folks were kind of wondering, yes, Diane Kelly is like the #1 fan of OP testing. Believe me, GED Testing Service knows that too. So OP testing is definitely something that will be with us. It has proved to be very popular, you know, for the right set of circumstances. It is a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for people to take the test. And about 20 to 21% of our students avail themselves of the OP testing option to some extent, and that is right in line with the national average, which is about 20%. Also, right now, as far as I know, about 10 jails are using OP testing or have done OP testing, which is a big deal. And it might be up to 12. It's hard for me to keep tabs in real time on that because OP testing only shows up in my reports as the OnView testing center that's based out of Minnesota, which of course I know you're not testing in Minnesota. But if you're testing in a jail or someplace using OP, it doesn't show up as that jail. So I've heard from several folks that yes, we're doing OP testing and it's going well, or we've tried it and it hasn't worked. But I will say that as often happens that we sometimes forget, Kentucky can be a leader in a lot of ways, and Kentucky is definitely a leader when it comes to OP testing in jails, in county jails. Around the country, they're not doing it the way we are. So I want to give kudos to you all and your instructors who are working in those jails, because it's your people who are going out there and making this happen. And GED Testing Service knows the good work that we're doing here, because I tell them at every opportunity what you all are doing. And also, I do tell them whenever you report problems to me. I think you know that. They sometimes get sick of hearing me, but that's okay. You know, they need to fix the problems. And that's why I keep talking to them. Also, I realize that the only way that people can pass the GED is to be able to take the GED, right? Ray Smith used to always say, to pass the GED, you got to take the GED. You got to get started. And part of that is access, and I realize that there still are testing center access issues. There's just parts of the state that do not, Susan Jackson's nodding her head like, yes, there are areas that have problems. And believe me, West Kentucky is top of my list. But I have been working to develop that testing capacity. Even in the midst of a pandemic, I was trying to reach out and make, some connections. And we did get, the Kenton County Public Library came online for testing. The Covington branch came online for testing in March of this year while the pandemic was still going on, offering our first public testing option in Covington in probably 20 years. So hallelujah for that. So we have 4 new locations in the process of actually being, getting their centers up and running. I say 4 and not 5 like on the slide, because the Grant County Public Library came online as well. You'll hear a theme there, and that's because libraries are my #1 target for getting more testing centers online. When I started in this position, we had 3 public libraries offering GED testing. Now we have 6. And we have a 7th, Madison County Library is in the works. And thanks to our partnership with KDLA, who did a survey of public libraries recently, I now have 24 more public libraries to contact, including Graves County. I just want to say thank you. And not all of those are going to pan out. I realize that. But it's a process of talking to them, allaying their fears, helping them realize that they can do this, even if it's small, even if it's just 1 testing seat. That's 1 testing seat more than what we've had, up to this point. Anyway, I think you all know where to find me. I think you all are not shy about reaching out to me. So if you ever need anything, please just let me know, and I'm happy to serve. Thank you.
So for those of you who may not know me, I'm Jo Botts. I work at the Adult Education Academy in Moorhead. I'm the director there. At the beginning of the year, we learned that our associate director, who was all things RLA, superb PLC coach, left in August. But I am happy to report that we have identified and made an offer to a person I think you all will really come to like and appreciate for his expertise also. So once that is firm, hopefully in January they'll start, but I'll send something out to you all about that then. But I'm here to talk to you today about 2 things. The first is CASAS. Oh, that's mid-year compliance. Who would have known that I used to be the instructional technology person at Moorhead? Okay, there we go. CASAS. So we've all been under transitions, and so CASAS has not been immune to those transitions. When Joyce Bullock retired and when Love moved on, that left a vacancy for CASAS contact. So I'm happy to report, I hope you all will feel the same, that I am the CASAS point person for the, so if you've got any questions about CASAS, please feel free to reach out to me. My email is on the screen here. I'm happy to see about 4 or 5 other Kentucky folks on there. And after the training, I thought, man, that went really quick. And I think I'm pretty tech savvy, aside from, you know, moving the slides there a little bit poorly. But I thought it went quick for me. So I'm going to try in next year to organize something specifically for our Kentucky ESL users, a TOPS Pro Enterprise. So be on the lookout for that. Note the last bullet. If you don't see me today, then unfortunately you'll have to reach out to CASAS to make any changes that you may want or need to make from here on out. The second thing I wanted to talk to you about is mid-year compliance. We are in the process of sending out those emails to you all for instructors who may have neglected that part of their job. But you've always got access to your tracking sheet in your Google Classroom. Anything that's highlighted is something that needs to have attention paid to it. If you've got any questions about what's on that tracking sheet, or you think that something might be on there in error, please reach out to me or Lita or Laura Wolfram, and we'll take care of it. Okay, thank you.
Oh, good job. All right. I would be the one to shut down the slides. You know, the mic goes away, the lights burn out. Anyway, I was just sitting there thinking, how long has it been since we actually saw each other face to face and in the flesh? And I just want to start out by saying I'm so glad to see all of you. It's been a rough run, hasn't it? I was reflecting this morning when Duranda was talking to me that I'm going on my 7th year. So when I started, my youngest son was going into middle school, and now he's a freshman at EKU. And the last time I saw a lot of you face to face was in February, and my son was getting ready to get married, and now he's been married almost 2 years. So we've covered a lot of ground, and it's been a little bit rocky. I completely understand. But I do think we need to turn our focus to what's positive and what's possible, and hopefully I'm a voice for that. Not on all days, but I want to be a voice for that. 3 years ago, you might remember, I can remember vividly, it's burned into my memory, one of our biggest kickoff events was at BCTC Newtown, and we were talking about how we needed to go boldly into Edtech, and that we were going to set an expectation that everybody become familiar with a free LMS in the form of Google Classroom, and we were going to use these professional learning communities to acquaint everyone with an LMS. And then we started using Zoom. Do you remember when we had the first fun session of getting oriented to Zoom? So we have certainly come a long way since then, and we will continue to change and evolve. And like Dr. Gregory said, hopefully we'll do that together. And I remember that BCTC event because I was so nervous about it. I walked to the back of the room after making a presentation, tripped over a laptop cord, and nearly face planted in the event. So that particular day is burned into my memory. So this next step is just the latest in an evolution, I think, of boldly going into educational technology and harnessing it to benefit students. And I think the important point to be made is we do not consider ourselves to be the be-all and end-all. We're ever the learner, and we've learned a great deal from all of you and want to continue that collaborative relationship that we started almost 4 years ago now with really embracing and harnessing the potential of instructional technology to help us overcome some traditional, perennial barriers that we have with students who are pursuing an education, and particularly our services. So, going to recap the Edtech checkout plan for today. You have been sent a couple of very detailed emails and a plan, but in case you haven't had an opportunity to review that closely, I'm going to go over it with you one more time and give you a quick opportunity to ask questions. So we had what Dr. Gregory called a 1-to-N list of things that we could purchase with funds that were about to expire. And before we took a first step, we polled all the program directors to see what you said you wanted. And then we rank ordered the list according to what you told us you needed the most. So this is your list. This is the feedback you gave. Not everything on the list were we able to purchase. And frankly, an understatement would be to say our purchasing process, is challenging. But lots of times things that we would like to wish list purchasing just don't make it through the final cut. And so this is what made it through the final cut. It's ready and it's here to be distributed to you today. And I want to say a quick thank you to my esteemed colleague, Mr. Terry Pruitt, and my other esteemed colleague, Ms. Laura Wolfram, for doing so much work to track all of this down, to tag it, to inventory it, to figure out the steps for distributing it. Richard Tucker, thank you very much for helping us troubleshoot on all the hot spots and figuring out how to set them up. So I'm going to click through this. If I skip anything, you just hold your question till the end and we'll try to take all of those. So every program is going to get equal distribution of 5 laptops, 5 wireless mice, and 5 hotspots. The hotspots are going to, not only are they distributed through the state account, but the usage fee per month is going to be paid by the state through the end of the fiscal year. Thought that was good. Thank you, Terry Pruitt, again, and Dr. Gregory. So you're going to have a detailed step-by-step set of instructions for how to activate those hotspots. And as we learned in some testing in the office, it's not intuitive. So that's why we have printed the instructions, and you're going to get the instructions with your checkout process at the end of the day. So first step, please do not turn on those hotspots and get a message that's going to be confusing and call and say, these hotspots don't work, because you're going to need to go to the step-by-step instructions for how to activate it. And again, it's not intuitive, but go to the instructions and I think you'll succeed. If you do not succeed after following the instructions, of course call us and we'll help you figure out how to troubleshoot that. But just know, hotspots, a little tricky, gonna have to follow the instructions. Second, we were able to do a statewide purchase of Fast Forward and Workplace Essential Skills. So we have a grand total of 200 seats to be distributed around the state, not 200 per provider. So the way we distributed that was by formula. We took the fiscal year 22 enrollment goal of every program. We created a formula that took the percentage of that goal and then cranked out the allocation you should have by your enrollment goal. So this is not a 100% equal, everybody got the same number of seats. If you have concerns about that, I'm glad to talk to you about that offline, but we thought that was the most fair and equitable way of distributing those seats. And Laura has already contacted all of you. I think we're down to maybe 1 or 2 directors we have not yet heard from, so we hope to round you up today so we can finalize the allocation. The way that went was you accept your allocation or you forego it. And if you forego it, we're going to go just down the list of the programs that said, I want more seats if someone doesn't take their seats. Now, a couple of you said, I want Fast Forward, but I don't want Workplace Essential Skills. I want to encourage you that you might want to rethink that, because as Dr. Gregory mentioned this morning, it's not going to be GED only. It's going to be an array of services that we provide to adults around Kentucky. And as I'm learning, Workplace Essential Skills from KET has undergone a bit of a revision to be more focused on preparing adults for the workplace. So if we're talking about new MSGs and we're talking about serving people who are soon to go into career pathways, you might want to think, well, I don't have maybe an immediate need for Workplace Essential Skills, but as I evolve my program's array of services, I may very well need this to help me meet some of those new MSG opportunities that are going to be available to me and that we're going to learn more about from Whitney and Katie today. So we're going to reserve the right after you've heard this training, if you think you might want to rethink, then you've got till the end of the day at your Edtech checkout to rethink your decision and finalize that today. So keep an open mind, listen, it's your prerogative, but I just want to be sure you're making an informed decision about what you're going to do with your allocation. When the day concludes, our team is going to try to slip out a little early, so we'll be set up and ready for you to make this hopefully move like a well-oiled machine. So, why are you laughing? Why are you laughing? Okay, so we're going to go into, we're in Transportation Cabinet, but our offices are next door at 500 Merrow Street. So what would be the most expeditious is if you would exit wherever you're parked now and go into the parking lot for 500 Merrow Street, specifically up to the second floor of the parking garage. Why there? Because it has a ramp access to the building and it's 100% covered. And if you've checked the weather, we're supposed to have severe thunderstorms this afternoon. So that's going to be the cleanest way for you to get your technology. And you might be asking yourself, why didn't you just bring it over here? Good question. Because when you see the allocation of technology, you're going to realize that it had to be transported with pallets and pallet jacks, and we didn't have access to that, and we thought this would be the least troubling, probably most accident-free way of getting this distributed to you. So when you come over to the building, we're going to badge you into the second floor. So somebody's going to be standing at the entry door, and they're going to badge you into the building. Then you'll take the elevator up to the 5th floor. Someone will be standing there to guide you in, badge you into the 5th floor. You'll see a table set up in the hall. You'll sign out your technology. It's already been organized by program, some of it bagged up for you. You'll sign that out and be on your way. Now, you were instructed to bring a cart today to transport it, but if you don't have a cart, sometimes we forget. We have a few extra carts, and we have a few folks on hand who are going to help you get that out to your car, and we'll be glad to help you. So that's the plan for today. One final note. So we had to inventory this technology because the purchase came through the state and not funneled from the state through a program budget. So we're on the hook for keeping track of it, so to speak. So we've done our inventory process internally, but you're going to have to keep track of it at the local level. So when you go back, I'm trusting that all of you have a loaning agreement that you use with your students. And if you don't have that, we have a sample. All of you will be getting the slide deck for today. You can click on this. There's a sample technology loaning process that you can use, and I think we may have a link about that in your checkout process as well, so you don't have to wait for the slides. I urge all of you, do not loan this technology to a student without a concrete plan for getting it back from the student. So we are hoping this is not, a panacea. It's not the solution to every problem, but we hope that it will be a big solution and a big benefit to you. I think your minds will begin to get creative and innovative when you hear more from Katie and Whitney about what's possible and what will be opening up in terms of the services you'll be able to provide. And we're hoping that we're equipping you to do that very thing. And instead of, it being delegated, so to speak, to a program, we hope that this is seen as an act of service to you. So it's my pleasure to do that. Hope you have a good day. Glad to see all of you. Thank you.
can either wear my mask or see you, but not both at the same time. So those of you who wear glasses can probably commiserate with me. It is great to see your faces. If I can't see your face, it's great to see your sparkling, smiling eyes. But it is great to be back together and just welcome, and it's so good to see everyone. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our college and career navigators, and I am so proud of our college and career navigators. You know, just like you all, it has been a very, very difficult period. They have really risen to the challenge of trying to do things differently, to figure out how to reach out to students, and we've been trying to help facilitate that through teaching them and helping them to advance their digital skills. And who knew in February of 2020 how heavily we were going to rely on those digital skills. And kudos to Lori and her team, who just immediately hit the ground running, looking for different ways to help us connect, talking about Zoom and remember WebEx. We did some WebEx there for a while. But we have been working with Joey Learman, and as you all know, Joey is a renowned subject matter expert, Dr. Gregory, in digital skills and digital instruction. He works with people all over the country trying to help them. If you've ever worked with Joey, Joey is a very gracious instructor. As Joe said, you know, sometimes you get nervous and you can't figure out what's going to go on and you make a dumb mistake. Joey never makes you feel like you're making a dumb mistake. He's very patient with students. He's very patient about going over the information. And so we have just concluded a 3-month program with Joey, with our college and career navigators, designed to help them with recruitment efforts and to also help them with retention. And so prior to the class starting, Joey sent out a survey. And so he used a 5-point Likert scale to see where people were before the class started in terms of what did they feel like their digital proficiency was. And so I'm not going to read all of these for you, but the very first one, I'm skilled at using technology to help adult learners. So prior to the class, that was a 3.4 on that 5-point Likert scale. But after the class was over, it was a 3.9. So that's a pretty decent gain, a 0.5 point increase in that. And you can see that there were some other gains even more in terms of Google Sheets and social media and Google Forms. I've had several of the navigators tell me that the thing that they really, really appreciated about this particular training was the tech tips and the things that Joey helped them learn how to do that they could use immediately in their programs. When we were doing the Microlearning Monday, where's Mary? With Craig's Craig gave a shout out to the class in terms of how the Google Forms was really helping him corral and keep up with all of the information that went into tracking the students for their boot camp. I've had people tell me that they're using the Google Forms for surveys, and they're using it in conjunction with their social media, and that it just made them stop and think about some easy ways that they could be reaching out to students that they hadn't tried before. And so I feel like, you know, it has really kind of helped them with their confidence. We all need that, growing confidence with using technology. And we had a number of comments from folks, and I picked one that I put on the screen here, that really, you know, I'm thrilled that the course has given me the opportunity to use some new tools that I can immediately apply to my work with students. So we do have a report from Joey, and we will be sharing that with you all. I know in the past you all have asked to see some feedback from some of the classwork, and so I do have a full report with more information there that I will share with you. And then when you go over to visit Lori this afternoon, not only are you going to get some laptops, but you're going to get the famous Kia yellow bag. If y'all have ever been to a college fair, you've probably seen these yellow bags. They have a number of great resources available from Kia, and I'm going to see here if it will let me. So Kia, oh, you can't see that on the screen. Okay. Well, I was hoping that I could click on it and you could see the screen. But the information is there in your bag, and a number of resources from Kia. The first one you all hopefully are familiar with is Adults Returning to School. This comes directly from Kia. They mail it out every fall directly to your offices. So hopefully this is something that you're familiar with. Also, Surviving College for adults. This is something that is not, I don't believe, directly sent from Kia, but is available from them. You'll have a sample in your bag. Lots of information here about how to go through the advising process. There's information about financial aid. There's information about scheduling, the Work Ready Kentucky Scholarship, all kinds of information there. And a couple other ones I want to share with you that you may not be familiar with. How many of you all do financial literacy education with your students? Really? Okay. Okay. I see a few folks. If you're not doing financial literacy education or providing some materials to your students, I would highly encourage you to do that because, you know, you're trying to help people figure out their budget, their transportation, their child care. This will go through all kinds of things with them in terms of balancing a checkbook and the dangers of credit card debt. It talks to them about insurance. It talks to them about savings. It talks to them about how to get money to pay for college. Great publication here from Kia. And then also there will be a Fafsa completion guide in your packet. You'll notice this is the one for 22-23. So if you have students that are interested in taking some college classes in the spring, this is not the form that you'll need. This is the form that starts in the fall of 2022. But the forms are available from Kia, and you can go out to the Kia website, go to counselors, go to outreach services, and then go to publications. And they have a whole order form where you can order materials in bulk, and they're just very helpful. So I want to make sure to give those folks a shout out. And then I also wanted to mention, Lori was talking about the workplace, the workforce essential skills from KET. So we are in the process right now of writing the new federal Perkins grant. The federal Perkins grant helps to support my salary. It helps to provide training for folks. And so one thing that we're looking at is having all of our college and career navigators go through as a student the workplace essential skills program. In addition to that, we're asking for some additional seats so that once the navigators are familiar with it and they've gone through and they know how to use it and they can express the value of that to their students, then we're going to ask for some additional seating for students as well. So if you have not looked into that or you haven't looked at it recently, I would encourage you to look at that because we feel like that is a really good program. It's with one of our cabinet partners, and their information is Kentucky specific, and it is tied to the 5 in-demand career sectors. So we're excited about that. Make sure you pick up your materials. And again, just thank you for your support. Thank you for what you're doing to support your navigators. And we really do appreciate you all. And I believe Heather or Janet, I think I'm the last person standing between you and a restroom break maybe, or some coffee. So Heather, are we taking a break for a few minutes? All right, thank you.
Are you up next? All right, cool. All right, cool. Yeah. I mean, let's. where Trace is. I don't know. So, and I still don't know Frankfurt. I still don't know Frankfurt. So the only thing I know about Frankfurt, or the only thing I knew about Frankfurt was the Kentucky State campus, and that was it. And then when I came here, then the only thing I knew was to come down the hill from Kentucky State and come here. But I'm great.
So you're just a hop, skip, and a jump?
Don't
put any miles on your car.
No. I was,
People notice those pink signs.
yeah, I was like, hey, where did that come from? I pulled up.
They got them at the brewery, they're all over the place.
Okay.
We try and put out 6 every 2 weeks.
Okay.
And then we go and we look again to see if we've stolen one or if it's gone down. So we push those up and then we try and put 6 more at different places. There's
Right.
one at the Frankfurt Chamber in their window downtown.
Okay.
And then there's 2 over at Big Bluffers across the street. There's a lot of traffic in this.
Good. Good. Thank you for the invitation. I will be there. We're going to start back. This is our last block of instruction, so the remainder of the day, the rest of the time will be yours as far as going through the best practices, and then you have an opportunity when we return back this afternoon to ask me any type of questions that you want to ask. I'll do my very best to respond to them, and if I can't respond to them, then I'll call on one of the other subject matter experts in the office. If they can't respond to you in an appropriate manner, then we will get you the right answer or some type of update within 72 hours. Real quick, we got some new folks, I believe, in office that you may not be familiar with here in Frankfurt. We have Mr. White, who's right there. He started with us maybe about 3 or 4 months ago. He's done an exceptional job in doing the things that he does, and I think they did a micro-learning Monday or a workshop Wednesday last week, so you got an opportunity to see him as well as Greg Long. So we have some folks who are one-of-one, so I am expendable, and that's just the fact of the matter. So I'm expendable, so somebody else will come behind me and do a much better job than me, but we do have some folks that are one-on-one in this office. So Mr. Richard Tucker is our IT person. He is a wealth of knowledge, and so we want to use him up because he has a lot of experience and subject matter expertise. So Mr. Pruitt, as you know, is one-on-one because he's a budget guy. So nobody else can do what he does. And where's Nicole? Ms. Short. Yeah, she's another budget person as well. So nobody can do what budget people do. That's just the fact of the matter. So we got some folks that are one-on-one. As they go and as you go, then the program goes. So I'm just a person that's trying to stay out of the way. So we're going to move into what you affectionately know as the Paa Team. And just a little word to the wise, as we reorganize, these names will change just because they will. I mean, it's nothing extraordinary. That's just the cost of doing business. That's what we're doing as we reimagine. So I'm going to bring these two young ladies up who are new, but you have seen them before, Whitney and Katie. We are so blessed to have them. They bring a wealth of knowledge as far as the monitoring and the performance piece. So I'll turn the floor over to them. Thank you.
Good morning. All right, so I have a few updates for you all before we get started. We have been working very diligently with our IT team to do some updates to CARES. There have been students whose instructional time was not recorded or not recorded properly in CARES. I'm proud to announce that that matter has been corrected. Katie and I, we both received a plethora of emails from you all in regards to that, along with some other things in CARES. Also, the process to record the new MSGs and CARES is in progress, which leads me to tell you all about the IET toolkit that will be submitted to you all via email to determine how the new MSGs will be recorded. And there have been, actually, let me just say this. There have been increases in the number of IET programs available. States continue to work to expand the number of programs and the number of adult learners who participate. OCTAE, the Office of Career and Adult Technical Education, Office of Career Technical and Adult Education has developed this IET toolkit to assist with adult education programs to plan, design, and implement the effectiveness of IET programs. And these are responsive to state and local labor market demands and to fulfill the requirements of WIOA Section 203. Also, state rankings will be released next week. If you all happen to have any questions about anything, please write them down and submit them to our office so that we can get those questions answered for you. Okay? Thank you.
All right, so I'm Katie Gagel. I'm, I think, the newest kid on the block, so just wanted to take this opportunity to say hello. And I used to work at the local level with Christina back there, so we've already talked today. So I do have experience on the field, and now I'm learning where all that information finally came from and why I was doing what I was doing. One thing that we really wanted to reiterate to you guys today is, again, like Dr. Gregory said, we are not just GED. And we have always focused on secondary diploma as the way to get the MSG, which is your GED, and we focus on TABE and CASAS gains. But there are actually 3 more different opportunities to reach those MSGs that we want to capitalize on. And you guys are doing a lot of this work already in your centers, and we want to make sure that we are capturing that information to best meet your goals, which will help us meet our goals and help meet the goals of Kentuckians all around. So the 3 are highlighted in red. One was the secondary or post-secondary transcript. So it's not enough to just go to college, but we have to have proof of that they've attended college, that they have 12 credit hours or more. There's a lot of different parameters, which you should have in your folder, a printout of this graphic especially, and the details of those 3 new MSGs, which I know this is new. We were told before, don't worry about them. But these are 3 ways we can capture and work with Kentuckians that we really wanted to help to target now. The other one is progressing towards milestones, which is a workplace literacy MSG. And then we have passing technical or occupational knowledge-based exams, which are part of the IET program. So 2 of these, the secondary or post-secondary transcript is part of an IET, and the last one's part of an IET. So when we send out the IET toolkit, because we have to have an IET in place first for these in order to count. To get any of these MSGs also, we need to make sure that we are working with reportable individuals. So you have to have a TABE test or a CASAS test. We have to determine, do these students or potential clients need our services? And once we determine their eligibility, then they have to get those 12 hours of credit. And those 12 hours aren't us saying 12 hours, that's coming from the federal guidelines that WIOA says adult education counts a reportable individual as somebody with 12 hours. Different departments have different methods of calculating reportable, but for adult education, it's that 12 hours, which I'm sure has been locked into your brain, 12 hours, 12 hours, 12 hours. And we need those 12 hours to count any of these. So it's not enough for somebody to walk in your door, take a test, leave. We need to work with them, and we need to instruct them. So these are the 3 new types of IET MSGs, and they were actually around since earlier this year, but we haven't really put any focus, but we're going to start to. In an effort to help educate you guys more, we'll probably be offering a training after the Christmas holiday break, because I know everybody is busy in the next 3 weeks, so we'll be planning something, probably a Zoom webinar. And if you have any questions at all, like Dr. Gregory said, we are here to help. We are here to come to your centers and help you out in as any way as possible. So don't be afraid to reach out to us.
We're not the police here, but we will police a little bit. But we're here to just assist in any way possible to help you, to help Kentuckians. And this last slide here, which is also in your paperwork, is some documentation. So the key here to record these 3 new MSGs is documentation, documentation, documentation. If they take any type of exam, we need the results. If they complete school, we need a copy of their transcript. We need any kind of documentation to help prove that these things are happening. So make sure you're collecting this information. It's not enough to say they went to school. What's the proof? So document, document, document. And if you don't think you need it, collect it anyway. So the IETs overall, they're going to be a bigger push for you, even though maybe you were told before, don't worry about them. We're going to start worrying about them because we have to worry about them. And you may already be doing some of these things in your centers already, so we want to, that's why we sent out a survey last week, I think, to ask you guys, what are you doing already? What do you want to know? And one thing that we're going to do with all this information is, we've heard you in your Q1 performance reports that you sent back to us, and the survey is, we want to know what other people are doing. So hopefully the next part of today will help with that. And we're also going to be collecting your IETs, putting them in a spreadsheet with what category they'll fall in, what documentation you need, and we will be sharing that with you guys, probably on the CARES state resources where you find the state rankings. We'll post that so everybody everywhere can know what is going on, what are ideas that are already out there working. And you can always ask us, you can ask the strategic partnership team, because they'll be the ones helping with those employer relations to help build these IETs more robustly than they already are. So if you have any questions, write them down, email us. We're going to do our research as best as possible, but I think we want to give you the opportunity to talk more.
So we really want to be intentional about these IETs and these MSGs. We want to be intentional in the case that, number one, it's a requirement. We have to do it. So this is just not the new guy saying, hey, look, you know, this is something new. This is a requirement. We have to do it. We have to do this in conjunction with the GED stuff and all the other things that we have to do. So that's just the cost of doing business with this grant. We have to do it because it's a requirement. We have to do it because the cabinet is asking. They're asking. So I'm quite sure we all know that as they come from under the pandemic and all of the things that took place with the UI stuff, so now they're focusing back on things particular to the cabinet. So they ask about it, and so what the progress is. In addition, from a workforce standpoint, Kentucky as a state in relationship to the other 50 states is number 48 as far as workforce participation. So a big part of mitigating that process is what we do. So we serve as a bridge to a multitude of things across the state to help Kentuckians do the things that the state of Kentucky needs them to do to be competitive and to raise up from that bottom level of number 48. So I'm involved in meetings multiple times each day just trying to figure out how to get at that. It's not exclusively on our shoulders, but we do have a significant part in it. So we will do that. So those are things that we will do. We will focus on that. Another component of this is the partnership piece. So the things that the strategic partnership folks are doing, led by Anna and Greg and Oliver and so Mr. Shutt as well, is significant. So when we close this circle, they're not just out here just smiling and shaking hands and all that type of stuff. We're doing things intentionally to be able to build these relationships and build these partnerships, so when we provide the adult ed services to citizens in Kentucky, then there's a tangible result at the end, which is I either have a job, but if I don't have one, if I have a job, I have a better job, or if I have a job and I want a career, I have a career. Because this, the concept of this cabinet is cradle to career. That's the concept. cradle to career, so that's the business that we're in. So all these things are important. I will tell you, just being honest, I have been around the state and talked to certain partners in different areas of the state, and they have told me that, I guess, and this is notwithstanding the pandemic, that they have not been pleased with our response rate back to them regarding potential partnerships. And I'll tell you, I'm sitting in meetings, and that's the first thing that people tell me. And they're intentional, and they're not only telling me, but they're telling the recipient of the grant, who's the Secretary of the Cabinet. So, I do my best to apologize and tell them, hey, look, we have some pandemic stuff going on. We're trying to transition and trying to do some things. But notwithstanding all of that, we have to partner. We have to be in these centers and these one-stops. Not saying that you have to be there every day. I know the perspective from previous times has been to look for a space at no cost. Yes, we still want to do that, but we can't not serve Kentuckians because we don't want to pay. So we can work that out, and we will do all that we can, working with Mr. Pruitt. And if we have monies to supplement you, then we will do that. We will do that. So if rent needs to be paid, and if it's in the budget, then we're going to spend it, because that's what the legislature, that's why they gave us the money to spend, not to keep it like it's our personal checkbook. This is the people's money in Kentucky, and it has been appropriated for the people's use. And if we can't meet the people and serve the people because we're not in these centers, and again, I'm not going to tell you how to do it, but we at least need to have a seat at the table. So if you choose to be there 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, or whenever to best serve Kentuckians, then you have somewhere to go. And oh, by the way, these partners, so when they see you, then they recognize, okay, then this referral thing kind of clicks and it turns. So we have to be there. A little bit on referrals, and then I'm going to sit down, and then we'll bring you up here, which is why we're here. As far as DOC, so I've been engaged with them and had some extended conversations with DOC as far as these referrals. Now, so if you know anything about the process, there are 20 DOC regions or districts as far as reentry. And they publish a map as to the referrals that they give us to what will soon be the formerly Kentucky Skills U. Some way, somehow, the referrals are getting lost because they are reporting, and they have documentation that they have given to us, I think, year to date, and my memory is escaping me right now, but it was a significant number. So when I reached out to some folks across the local provider network, what I got back was, for example, so we only received one referral because the map says only one. The problem with that is that one on the map was for District 1, not just one referral. There were actually 347 referrals. So if we have no idea as to how many referrals are coming through the process, then we have a problem. And so we can fix that. But they're willing and able, and you are more than smart enough, because you're smarter than me, to be able to figure this out. And I know we will. So, where's Heather? Do we have an order as to folks that will... Cool. So let me just say before I sit down, this is why we're here. These best practices. So I want to hear, I'm quite sure your peers want to hear what you do and how you do it. Because I'm trying to get smart. So my intent is when I leave here today that I have significantly more knowledge than I did this morning at 9 o'clock. So you have it. So thank you.
So I knew I would be a little bit nervous for this, so I brought some inspiration, my number one inspiration with me to this presentation, which is my wife and my 3 adorable children. The one there on the left, she is 2 weeks old today. And thank you. And I actually got to catch her myself, so it's pretty awesome. And I figure, you know, if my wife can labor for 13 hours to bring us that beautiful bundle of joy, then I can at least stumble through this. So, Campbell County has the top three by population density, the top 3 cities in Kentucky. For cities over 10,000, Newport is number 1. For cities over 5,000, we've got Newport, Dayton, and Bellevue. And those are the top 3. And they're all right along the river there. And you can see this is in Newport on the levee. You can see Cincinnati in the background there. And so we really have a lot of people jam-packed in one little area. And so our main center is right smack dab downtown Newport. And our main goal is to try to get as many people in there as possible, of course. We have a lot of students who are able to walk in, which is amazing, right? I'm sure all of you would love to have students that could walk to your centers. But we also do things like providing bus passes to get as many students in there as possible. We are open 5 days a week, and including like one evening a week. And we also try to open up Saturdays at least a couple times a month. We do GED testing every Wednesday, and we stagger the different times of day, different times that we do the GED testing on site. We also provide 1 GED testing per month in the evenings on Wednesdays, and then once on Saturday mornings. So we really try to get as many, try to accommodate as many of our students' schedules as possible for that in-person GED testing. We also do things like we lend out we have a laptop lending service. So I'm so excited to hear from Lori that we're going to have some additional materials to lend out to our students. We have currently like 3 that we're lending out right now, and that allows our students to do the online proctor GED from home if they're unable to come in during the typical instructional hours. And then, so we have this, hustle bustle Newport on the levee, but we also have our county seat of Alexandria, which looks a little bit more like this. So, we pre-COVID days, we were able to work with some of our local, or our county libraries to get a presence in our libraries at least once a week. And there's a Tyson chicken plant as well that we had instruction there twice a week for those employees, trying to build that back into our normal routine because of course everything got disrupted, but that allowed us to try to figure out new ways to reach our students, right? So fortunately, before the pandemic hit, we were doing things like Zoom already for our classes. Like we would have scheduled classes in the mornings, but I would also open up my classes to have Zoom going during my actual classes. So if we had students that weren't able to make it for that day, they were able to sign in and at least listen and sometimes participate. It's kind of funny. I had to give my students a little warning because they would occasionally hear these voices coming from the speakers, and it's like, yep, don't worry, there's some people here listening in and everything. So that put us in a prime position, I think, to use Zoom when the pandemic did hit. And that's one of our primary ways still of reaching students out here in the country. And those Wi-Fi hotspots are going to be super helpful because, as many of you know, internet access can be a major barrier for students out in those rural areas. So what are some things that are a little different for us? Well, we are only one county, and so my program director, Nicole Braun, is able to focus all of her time on just this one county and this one geographical area. It allows us to establish some really good relationships with people nearby. We have a great relationship with our detention center, local detention center, allowing us to provide a presence there 4 days a week with 2 full-time staff members. We have a presence here we partner with the Brighton Center, and in particular the Center for Employment Training. That's one of my big locations. I'm going to be starting there full-time as like a site director next in January. But we're there 4 days a week, and we're providing adult ed services for those trainees. A little bit about this Center for Employment Training, as you can see here. What it is, it's a post-secondary opportunity for residents in the area to obtain a certificate in like medical assisting or health technology administration, which is like billing and coding stuff. And it's a post-secondary program, so we as the adult educators are in there almost like an elective class in a college, setting where we provide, we tape everyone that comes in, and we identify their weaknesses, math, language, that sort of thing, give them like an elective course, but we also align it to things that they're learning in their medical assisting class or HTA class. So example, like for math, instead of like adding and subtracting with decimals, maybe I help them practice like looking at 2 time stamps and figuring out the time that's elapsed between them, or time zone differences, because those might be phone calls that they take in their job, or converting between Fahrenheit and Celsius, so trying to implement it to the pharmacology and the math that they're going to experience in their medical field. It's also a dual program, so the students who do not have a GED when they're attending this, we work with them to get their GED so that by the time they finish their courses, they are ready to go out into the field. Capsule, actually, let me go back a couple here before I get to that. Another thing that's a little different with us is that we have, as you can see, this experienced staff there. We have a lot of staff members that we have and we keep and that are on, that have not left. Now, as a staff member myself, I'm not the director, obviously, I'm just a teacher, but one thing, if I can speak to the directors here about what I absolutely love about my director, Nicole, is that she provides a safe and productive environment for us as teachers to bring forth ideas and to help, to bring forth forward-thinking maybe or innovative kinds of ideas. And she is like, okay, well, how much does it cost? And I know for sure, I already know that, I try to find things that are free or super cheap, because I know that question's coming. But she's, she's like, okay, let's try it out. So Zoom was one of those opportunities. Using Google Forms to make our enrollments online is another one. Using like Google Voice and having a distance learning log and having that staff-wide. So for example, like during our break here, I was able to communicate over Google Voice with 3 of my students. I was able to log it as a distance learning attendance, and I was able to see exactly what they are doing in IXL. And one of them asked me, okay, what if I come up with some questions with my material on IXL? And I was like, well, don't worry. We can do a live Zoom if we need to. We can schedule that at your convenience. Also, I use Screencastify to record maybe like a 5-minute tutorial on whatever specific skills that she or that my students might need, and share that, something they can access right on their phone, right? So, so all of those things are, these are things that are ideas that we bring to our program director, and she doesn't immediately turn it away or doesn't think, okay, well, we've been doing it this way for 15 years, or we've been doing this for 20 years. She has open ears and wants us to keep trying things out. And that's led to a lot of really fun projects. As a teacher, that's led to a lot of really fun projects and things to explore. Some of them we're not really using as much as we used to, but some of them have really stuck. And before I get on to the last thing about that, another big thing is that we stay open like year-round pretty much. We used to have the traditional summer breaks, winter breaks, but we've taken it from like a month or several weeks off in the summer, maybe not several, like 4 weeks or something, and made that like a 1-week break, if that. And we do that by having our staff stagger their breaks, and so that we stay open as much as possible throughout the year. And I forgot, one thing that hasn't quite stuck with Nicole yet that I'm still trying to get her to do is the GED, the mobile classroom that I have in mind, this like GED bus that's branded and it's awesome and it's like decked out with all this cool technology. And now that we have these Wi-Fi hotspots, we can take these laptops and imagine setting up a little GED class there right at the levee, and maybe doing a little recruitment or having a live class right there. We could use the skyline to do some math lessons and things like that. We could take it out into the country. So I'm working on her with that one, and I'm putting that ear in all your bug in all of your ears too. So if you happen to talk to her. But no, the last thing I will mention is Capsule, which is a CRM. Now CRMs are used all the time in like the business world, right? Like any sort of corporate service, phone centers, all that stuff that interact with customers on a daily basis, or have customers that they're trying to make a sale with. CRM stands for Customer Relationship Manager. And so what we're doing, what we did was we located this CRM that's super cheap, super easy to maintain, and instead of, think in the corporate mind, like, okay, they might use this to try to snag a sale, end a sale. And they might have like these different profile pages for their different customers. Well, every one of our students has their own profile page. They're like our customer. And that sale that we're trying to snag is like the milestones of adult education, be it the GED or MSG. So imagine every single student has their own profile page. It contains all the data from CARES. I run 3 reports from CARES, and then can import all that data into Capsule. It takes maybe 15 minutes. And so every one of our students has all that information on their own little profile page. This is all teacher facing. And then on that is all of the notes that all of our instructors might have said about that student. So it's one place where we can go if we know we're working with John Doe on one particular day. I can go to their profile and see what other instructors have been working on with that person, so I know where to pick up. It also has a task manager along with that and a case manager. So, and then it has some really cool smart filters. So for example, I know that right now, I just ran this, there are 307 students in Campbell County that are enrolled. However, a lot of this will probably ring true with many of you. Out of those 307, guess how many have over 12 hours, right? 119, so about a third, right? How many of those students that are enrolled out of the 300 do you think, out of the under 12, so the 200, are 99 still? This is putting us on the spot. 81. So we know that there's 81 students that we need to tape still before they get to that 99 marker, right? That they've come in, they've done the enrollment, maybe they've talked to us on the phone, whatever. But that's a targeted list of students that we might want to follow up on, especially if it's been a while since we've heard from them. We use Capsule, like I said, as a case management system. Right now, there are 51 students. With each one of those students has an individual case because they have not interacted with us for 10 to 31 days. And a lot of you might know that, like, you get those students who are like on fire, and then they disappear. And it's so easy when, especially, we have one county. Some of you have, 3, 5 counties? I don't know how many Diane has back there, but 10? Oh my gosh, okay. Well, so how easy is it for some people to slip through the cracks? We don't want that to happen, but this is a way that we can keep these students, keep it focused and then come up with a plan to re-engage them. So I apologize. A lot of that's just me talking. There's not really anything interesting to look up here. In January, we are going to be doing a Microlearning Monday on this. So, or like a showcase, PLC showcase. So hopefully that will give you all a chance to see a little bit more about it. Again, it's something you don't need a tech person, a full-time tech specialist, and it's super cheap. So those are some of the things that we are doing in Campbell County, and I don't even know how much time I took. I'm sorry if I took more than 10 minutes or less, but okay. All right. Yeah, all the latest updates are almost like a Facebook news feed. Yeah. Great question. Perfect question. Okay, so anything that you can get into a spreadsheet, a CSV file, which is the basic spreadsheet file, you can put directly into Capsule. So we run 3 reports. It doesn't like automatically talk from CARES to Capsule. That integration would cost tens of thousands of dollars probably. But all you need to do, we run 3 reports: the admin attendance report, the admin TABE GED ready report, whatever that one's called, and then the program report, student search. And just go in CARES, download those 3 reports, and upload them to Capsule, and it updates the information like that. Yeah, Emily. How often? At least 2-3 times a week. Yeah, and as I said, it's we've got it down to about a 10 to 15 minute process. We don't at the time. Currently, we don't. We were there for for a little over a year, about 3 days a week, and then COVID hit, and they had to shut things down, and that was one of the things that was shut down. Oh, there was 2 staff members there for about 3 hours a day. One of the major services we provided was ESL. But also, general GED, math, reading, those subjects and things like that, yes. So, ESL is a big one for those kinds of workers, and really gives them a chance to have that tangible, be able to achieve that goal of moving up, because there's, they have the work ethic, but maybe there's some other barriers. Yes, Mary. Yeah, and that just reminds me, just in general, of sharing ideas. This is something when we discovered the potential of it, we wanted to get this out there, and because we thought we could see the potential of it, and so just sharing it and working with Mary and Diane already, there's been a lot of ideas bouncing back and forth, and Mary's using it in a way that we hadn't thought about it, and Diane as well, and so I think that as a group we can figure out some really cool, not just capsule, right, but anything, but that is just one example. Yeah. There is a free version, but it costs our program about $1,500 a year. And that's for 8 users, because what you're paying for are the staff, like the user profiles, the staff profiles. And I believe they're like $15 a month, $18 a month per staff member. So you could theoretically, you could make it work for your program with like one account and make it super duper cheap. But if you want to have all of your staff members or multiple staff members contributing to this one place, all of this great information about your students, then that's your decision as a program director. I think it'd be worth it. But gosh, thanks so much for the questions. Dr. Gregory. We partnered with Tyson through something that they do corporately called Upward Academy. And so at this point, I haven't spoken with their contact with us since middle of COVID. It's been several months. So we would love to have a presence back out there. And I guess I would want to know if they already have someone else. But that is a big thing. Yeah, I think it was a really good recruitment tool, a really good opportunity to reach people that we wouldn't otherwise reach, who really could benefit from our services. And knowing now that these MSG, being able to achieve an MSG gain, not necessarily just through a GED, but through some attainable goals in their workplace, is even further incentive to check it out. But yeah, really, as long as we have the staff that we can dedicate and the student demand, then yeah, we would love to be back out there. If we wanted some help with that, we would contact who? Great. Okay. Thanks, Dr. Gregory. Yes.
to be very boring today. So after following that, that was very interesting. Basically, our program, I'm Diane Brasher, by the way, with the Elizabethtown Community and Technical College, and we start, oh, sorry. I'm Diane Brasher with Elizabethtown Community Technical College. No? Had to be a problem to start with, you know. Okay, I'm Diane Bratcher with Elizabethtown Community Technical College, and we have Grayson, Meade, Nelson, and Washington counties, which are very rural, and they're very spread out. Grayson's our largest county, and it's where we do most of our services at as a full-time county. Okay. Whenever that I was asked to do this, I'm like, innovative? We're not really doing anything innovative. We are doing a few things differently, but we're not doing anything like the CRM or anything like that right now, although we are interested in it. So I polled my instructors and I said, what do you think has helped us this year the most with getting the MSGs and getting the GEDs? So basically it is orientation of expectations for student success, which that sounds kind of silly because everybody's been doing orientations for years. I'm not doing anything different than most of you are doing. It's just we've tweaked it a little bit. Keeping a spreadsheet, a monthly GED goal, progress testing for MSGs, remote students, corrections advanced schedule test, and OPGED testing. On the orientation, on the orientation for the student expectations for success, what we find is that we have a lot of students who come in and enroll, or somebody sends them in to enroll with us, and that's all they do. They don't even come back, even with calls and trying to encourage them or anything. So with probation and parole referrals, the students that are referred are coming in and telling us, my caseworker says I don't have to do this GED. So, you know, you're stopped right there. You know, there's nothing you can do about it because if they don't want to do it, they're not going to. There's no encouragement from the caseworker. So basically we do an in-depth conversation with them, you know, trying to encourage them, telling them the benefits of it and everything. But then they end up usually, well, I can't do this right now because I have too many things on my plate. So we just tell them not to enroll right now because they're taking up our time for testing and everything else that we could give to some other student, and we're very short-staffed right now, so we're having difficulties finding instructors for our classes. And then students weren't understanding the commitment needed to reach their goal for the GED or whatever else they're coming in for. So we sit down and not just a career navigator, we try to enforce that through all of our staff, that they talk about, you know, what you need to be able to do this, and so that's helping. And then enrolling students is time consuming for limited staff when the students are not committed. So we took that from the probation and parole and we carried it over to our regular students and we talked to them, and if they're too busy right now because they don't really realize what the commitment is sometimes, if they don't really have the time or they don't want to, we just say, wait till you're ready and then come back and see us. And that's helped us to be able to take our limited staff and focus on the students who will stay with us and make sure we keep track of them. So the next thing we do, this is a spreadsheet from one of my instructors, and she teaches at the jail, and of course our jail classes are large at Grayson County. So it was very difficult with the CRM though. This could probably go away. But she makes a spreadsheet and keeps track of who's taken everything, progress test, who's completed their ready test and they're ready to take the GED test. And so I get this every month from her, or sometimes earlier. And then the other spreadsheet is something I do for Washington County, a drug recovery program called CROWN. And we have had 120 some students enroll there since the 1st of July. We've only gotten 6 GEDs. So you can probably guess when he was talking about maybe a third of the students were actually coming in and getting over 12 hours. That is our issue there. And of course they're kind of like the jail too. You get them so far and they're gone. But basically I do this spreadsheet for the managers and the caseworkers so that they can see who's just not coming to class And we're starting to give them limits that if they don't come to class, somebody's going to take your place, because we've had to set a limit on how many people we can have in class there. But we're there 4 days a week right now, so that's quite a bit. Trying to cover as many students as possible. And one of the main things the staff told me that really helped them, and it's so simple, and I've been in adult ed for years, and we've always talked about having a goal for GED, but it would be like by Christmas we need this many GEDs, or by this time we need this many. But we set a monthly goal this year of divided out how many we needed for the year, 118, so that's about 10 per month. So that's our goal. So what they said is that it gives them a sense of urgency, that they know by the end of the month, as a team, it's not any one county's not got a certain amount of goals, but they're all participants in the team. So they feel like that this has really helped them, which I'm really surprised that such a simple thing has made as much of an effect on our instructors as it has. And progress testing for MSGs, what I found was my data assessment person was running the reports, sending them to the instructors. The instructors didn't really pay a whole lot of attention from the data assessment person. So now I send the reports, and I go a little step farther. I look at the points to reach on the TABE testing on the roster report, and I send to the instructors, once the student reaches these hours, make sure you test these people first, because they are very close to making a MSG gain. So. And we do have remote students. We don't have a lot of them, but we enroll by email in a Zoom session. We have the same student orientation for success as we do face-to-face. We let them know if they're not really wanting to do this right now, don't enroll now. Contact us when you're ready, or we'll contact you again. And we ready test as soon as they complete the enrollment process to see where they're at, see if they're ready to take that OP test. We use Zoom to proctor the TABE test, and we use GED.com for their diagnostics from a GED ready test, mostly to focus on rather than TABE tests. And we're using IXL as a study metric, and we're offering Zoom tutoring. Now, our Zoom classes did not take off, and our Google Classroom didn't either, and because we're very rural, so I think that's part of it. So what we decided to do instead was to offer Zoom tutoring, because that way when the student needs help, I have a person that they can contact, and they can set up a Zoom meeting on their time frame at any time, like they can both be available. And it's about a 50-50 on the student completion with our remote students. All right, and one thing that's helped us in corrections at Grayson County is that the education director there schedules our GED test, and they schedule them about 4 to 5 weeks apart, and he schedules them in advance before we tell him we have students ready. So the instructors tell me that is really encouraging them to have enough students ready for testing, not to bring in somebody for wasted time. And we do OP-GED testing. We encourage it a lot. We are OP testing in one of the jail is OP testing at Meade County. And we always had problems getting the jailer there to schedule testers to come in, because they look at it as such an expense they don't want to do it. So, and you have to have everybody ready at the same time. So as you all know, in corrections, if you're trying to get everybody ready at the same time, about 2/3 of them are gone by the time you get them all ready. So basically, when the jail opened back up, me and the career navigator, we made an appointment with him and went in and talked to him. And I told him, I said, we wanted to talk to you about the OP test and how that could help you and help both of us with the testing. So we mapped out everything he needed to do and what he had to do. He gave us a room, and he dropped down a cord for the internet for us in a room. And he also designated a person to take the students, once they passed one GED ready test, over to get a state ID. So that, that's a great partnership, but it's a small jail. A large jail is not going to cart everybody over, So that has really helped us a lot. And, we also are doing the OPGD test in the drug recovery program. And that one's being a little more sticky. We're finally starting to get it lined out for them to make appointments for their IDs. So the IDs have really held up a lot. I think we've lost about 10 people who were ready to take the test completely and couldn't get them there. But we are still working with the case managers and the management there, and they are trying to help us out. And we are actually, the Kentucky Career Center is actually in our center in Nelson and Grayson County. So we have community space there that if we need to, we can OP test there as well. And we do OP, the students, some of them do OPGD tests at home. We may have to loan them a laptop, which we were fine to do that with. We have some we've been loaning out. And then all OPGD we have them practice with the online calculator, the whiteboard, and the tutorials. Especially the math, they have to really practice that a lot, and it makes them much more successful. And that is, I'm not doing anything more, I don't feel like, than any of you all are. So, but the few little things we've done to tweak it has really helped us a lot. So that's it.
My name's Kelly Anderson. Can you hear me? All right. I am a newbie to the director's world. I am here in Franklin County, representing Thornhill. We have 5 counties. So we have Franklin County, Estill County, Jackson County, Lee County, and Bourbon County. And now you're all going like, how did that happen? We just got the redheaded stepchildren, that's it. I love them all dearly too. So I go out and see them. I try and go once a month, and but what I am going to talk about, I do not have, I'm not Tammy, but somehow I am Tammy now. Don't know what I'm doing. There we go. during the break, I was not Zooming anyone or checking on anyone. I was going to the bathroom. So thanks for making all of us look terrible. I appreciate that. Yeah, there was a line there. I sprinted. I tackled a few of you to get in there. So I feel pretty good about that. I think the bottom line, so for me, and for me to even just not be walking and pacing is pretty incredible. I need to give you some background about myself. I am originally from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. My dream in the world was to come and live in the States. That was my dream ever since I was a child. I was a college athlete in 2 sports. I played Division I basketball and Division I softball. Okay, I am a rat on acid. That's what my employees say. My former director, Rita Rector, would always be like, Kelly, you are going to have to get medicated because you are too much. You're making, there was a woman there for 30 years. Her name's Trina Wallace. A lot of you will know her. She was in charge of our WIN program. You're making Trina want to retire. You're making her crazy. So anyone that ever meets me is just like, man, she's off the chain. But I'm also very brutally honest. I have the coaching mentality. So from day one when they offered me the interim position, I was like, we are a team. And I was joking with Dorinda when they said, do you want to share best practices? And the coach in me is going, no. I'm not coaching your team. I'm coaching my team. I'm not teaching your kids how to do a, between the legs layup. Forget that. Then my PLC coach, Kay Combs, gave me heck. She's like, Kelly, that's just not the right thing to do. And I walk away. This was at Thanksgiving. We had a big party. And I'm just like, okay, I guess I'll share a few things. Thornhill is really, really unique. We're about 2 miles away from here. I said, oh my gosh, I'm so lucky. Dr. Gregory hasn't found out about me yet. And thank goodness he only knows where a few things are in Frankfurt. He'll never find me. I'm on top of the hill. It's unique because we have a school. It's an old school. I think it's about 80 years old. It's about 100 years old. So we have a computer lab dedicated just with computers for the community to come in. We have an on-site testing facility. We not only do Pearson tests, we also do Pro-V testing there. We test for Jim Beam. They come in, they pay money for us to test them, for them to take the tape for pre-employment. We do the Bennett, what is it called? Bennett's Mechanical? Yeah, that thing. I think there's only 2, and I might be wrong. We're one of 2 nonprofits here in Kentucky. So I'm the fiscal agent. Bourbon County is still run through their school board, and so is Jackson County. But Estill and Lee and Thornhill are all umbrellaed under the nonprofit, which makes for a lot of advantages. For example, anyone notice any pink signs saying free GED this morning? Yeah, you should, because I purposely put them outside that garage, so every day you guys will see them, okay? If you go across to the brewery, there's one over there too, because we're partners. They do a lot of stuff for us, community-wise. We are partners with that is the big thing that I have done. We have created a lot of partnerships. We do have KCC in our building. We have 2 women that come in. They're awesome. They are all about getting GEDs. They'll give you the $250 when you get your GED through these programs. They're in there all the time. We're partners with the Bluegrass Theater Guild. Now you're sitting there going, well, that's kind of weird. They use our facility. What it does is it creates traffic. It creates traffic around my building, which what does that do? Creates word of mouth. We let the senior center come in and do dances. They come in our gym. We rent our gym out. All of this creates traffic in my facility. Our ESL, it's great here. We have ESL classes at night on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Being a nonprofit, we get money from Franklin County, from Buffalo Trace. We have free childcare. So any student can come in, and if they need childcare, we give them free childcare. Now, we have a flip program. It's called a family literacy. We take single parents or parents in general that need their GED. They come in every Tuesday and Thursday. They get free childcare. The child is learning with we've got a child care room specific to that. ESL, they bring their children. We've got a child care room at night there. We also, some of you, if you live in Frankfurt, you've seen, we have a van. We go pick you up. There are no excuses. I know. Do you need a defibrillator? Okay. Yes. I couldn't believe what a gold mine this place is. And don't get me wrong, maintaining a 100-year-old building costs money. And Terry Pruitt always tells me I can't spend money. I'll throw him under the bus. So I have to use funds from other places. I loved what I heard from Newport. We aren't quite that big. So a lot of times our class sizes are 4, 5 to 8. One of the great things is my CARES person, my data assessment person, the first person you see, or the administrative assistant. It is such a welcoming place. When you come to Thornhill, you are welcomed. The first day on the job, there's a lady in the closet, and she turns to me, she goes, "Can I help you with something?" And I go, "Well, I think I work here now." And she's like, "Oh, okay." And so it's just such a welcoming place. But my data assessment person, she brings them in. We've got this, she goes in, she has the orientation, and she tries to get to know them. She knows everyone's name. I don't know how. And she always remembers their password for their GED. She must know, she knows everything. So she'll just log in, see what their scores are, or she goes into CARES. But she is great about matching the student with the teacher. And I am big about that. We're only as strong as, if you've been on a team, and you've got that one cantankerous person. "Oh, we can't do it that way. I tried that 20 years ago. We don't want that." I don't care if you tried it 20 years ago. Try it again. I hate the saying. There's 2 sayings I absolutely detest. "Well, this is the way it's always been done." Yeah, well, that's why you suck. You know? I'm sorry. That's why you're bad. You know, change it. Change something. When I taught in college, on my evaluations, I'd always get, she's kind of like Chelsea Handler and Ellen. Just not quite as dirty as Chelsea Handler, so I'm keeping it clean today. My data assessment person, she calls me her number 1. She calls herself Spock. She's a Star Trek geek. So she always knows everyone that walks through that door. We are tight-knit. Every day we're talking about students. I walk in, "Hey, Richard, how are you today? Where are we at? Da 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 da." The other great thing, we have 2 mobile sites. I used to drive Natalie crazy. I probably still do. We have a mobile correction site. So that site, and I don't know, is someone from Shelbyville here? We go to Shelbyville. We send him to Shelbyville to test there. He goes to Lee County. He goes anywhere. But we also have a mobile public site. So in Estill County, for example, they only test once a month. That's not enough. At Thornhill, we test a minimum of 5 times a month. A minimum. And if I think I'm going to lose someone, I'm opening a testing day that next day. I don't care. I'm sorry. Okay. I'm sorry. I have advantages. I have to admit that. We have, I don't know, you're new to Kentucky. We are members with the Chamber of Commerce. They are big, big proponents. We had a big event the other day called Friendsgiving. I did invite the staff here. Didn't see any of you. It was great. All the local, thanks, Natalie, for sharing that. Okay. Well, I guess it was well received. We had the Chamber and Thornhill hosted, restaurants donated food. We had magistrates there. We had Houston Wells, the judge executive there. We had everyone from the community. I am wore out. I don't know why I did this. I joined Optimist Club, Kiwanis, Rotary. Whew. That was maybe short-sighted, but that has been a great opportunity to get the word out. We also have become partners with the Franklin Center for Innovation, and they are a brand new makers space. And what we have done is partnered with them, and we're doing a community garden in the back of Thornhill. It's going to be a teaching garden where we'll get even more people into our building and see the how to can. During this pandemic, gardening became very popular. So right now, on my Facebook page, we're growing, I think we're growing garlic right now. And then I think in the basement, we're growing mushrooms. I don't know what we're doing. I just say, okay, do it. It is really a team effort for all of our counties. I communicate with them every Monday, and I show where we're at. +1 GED in this county, +7 enrollments. And then it has a deduction of how many do we need at the end, how many more do we need? Right now, if we can get 13 a month, we will meet our goal for our consortium. That seems reasonable to me. And I communicate. I was talking to, I don't know your name, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was talking to you. Sherry. I was talking to Sherry, and Bourbon County, she calls me all the time, Lisa Farmer, love her to death. She goes, Kelly, we're really trying here. We just can't get anyone in here. And we all know you get an ebb, a flow, you get hot sometimes. On the back of my door, I have a big Post-it note that says who's in the hopper. And what that means is who's 1 to 2 tests away. And we cross them off. Every day I look at that. Now, another thing that we do, and I don't know if I'm allowed to do this, but I do it. I'll tell on myself. I had a student named Charlie Thompson. Charlie Thompson worked full-time at McDonald's over, I don't know, that way. Could not come in. Could not come to night classes. Only needed math, okay? Was a 145 on the ready test. Well, I didn't want to give up on Charlie Thompson. So during her lunch breaks, she would call me. She says, I get lunch from noon to noon 30. This was right when the pandemic hit. So I'd drive over there, and we'd have math class in my car. I didn't care. I said, you just call me. I can be there in 5 minutes. She passed. I saw her about a month ago. She's gotten married. They bought a house. She's got a full-time job. And those are the ones that I am just so proud of. But our team will do anything. Trina Wallace is a professional Facebook stalker. And so she stalks them on Facebook. I love to frequent restaurants here, and we have T-shirts that say who we are. And we get tons of students, former students. We ran into one the other day at Cattleman's, former student of ours. She's now the assistant manager. So just seeing that, there's one at Miguel's. We picked up a student from Miguel's. We actually have told a bunch of the Mexican restaurants we'd be happy to come in and do ESL classes for their employees. So we're willing to do anything we can. Trina always says it best. She says win, whatever is needed. And that's what we do. We also have a website where we do these quick ready quizzes. We designed all these ready quizzes. There's 10 questions. Gives you instant feedback, how many you get right. Doesn't tell you what your score is going to be, but they're typical questions. Then the secret to Thornhill's success is we have this thing, we call it boxy math, okay? It's something I made up when I first got there, and it's these boxes of math. If you can do everything on those 4 pages, you can pass math. And it's done very meticulously. The big thing we do on any time we have testers, we bring in the closer, Trina Wallace, because it's usually math, right? Math is usually that one. I've had RLA a couple of times. The guy needed glasses. We didn't know, so we helped him get glasses. She does what we call a warm-up, just like a team. She warms the student up an hour prior to the test. The student comes in, and she goes through certain things to kind of get them started. get them going. I don't know about you, I'm not a morning person, so I need to warm up. It's usually with the Diet Coke, chasing my dog. I know it seems hard to believe I need to warm up, but I do. We do have QR codes on everything. So any of the flyers that you see coming out of out of Thornhill, every county has a QR code, and it takes you directly to their information. We do a lot of community events. We go in marches, wear our shirts. I just bought the staff T-shirts that say, it's there for Christmas, they say, "Dear Math, solve your own problems." So you've got to make the students feel welcome, and I think that's the biggest thing. If you can bring them energy, you know energy is contagious. When you walk around somebody and they've got great energy, you're pumped. You're excited. It's like that's Vince Lombardi talking to you or something. John Wooden, somebody that brings some energy. We do the chamber lunch bunches, so it's a bunch of businesses. Every Monday they go somewhere to a local place to eat lunch. I go to those, or one of my staff goes, just so that we can keep communicating with all these different businesses. Everyone knows us now. We are just a gold mine of things that we do. The Bluegrass Theater Guild is going to be having productions in that. They're giving us half their ticket sales. You know, being a nonprofit works out really well. Now, don't get me wrong, we don't get paid a lot, okay? And the other thing, being a nonprofit and being small, is my employees do not get health benefits or retirement. That changes a lot of things. My longest tenured employee, I've been there 5 years, one as a director. My longest tenured employee has been there 31 years. And she's already asked me, if I retire in 2 years, will you hire me back? I'm like, heck yes. Yes, that's my closer, Trina. So absolutely. Then we have, my cares person's been there 12 years. And she does an amazing, amazing job. I would put my cares person against anyone in the state, because she's pretty good. And all of the cares people in our counties are really, really good. I think that's enough. Is that enough? Okay. Any questions? Haha, I got off lucky. All right, thank you.
Lunch break first, so I wouldn't have to go directly after her. I was telling Susan, please, let's do lunch. Anyway, mine's not going to be near as much fun or exciting. I feel the same way as Diane. I feel like that everything we're doing, we're all doing. I don't feel like that we're doing anything special, if that makes any sense. We do offer, and my spreadsheet, or my PowerPoint is not near as graphic or anything as others. We do offer our math classes, especially in 3 different levels. So we have one that is strictly for like low-level TABE, one for higher-level TABE, and one for the GED. And then we move the students along accordingly. That may be something different than some of you, I don't know. When we left for COVID, that was on March the 17th. We had talked about doing online classes. We had not done those. By March the 20th, we were up and running 3 days later with online classes. So that was every bit due to 2 very dedicated staff members that I have. So we started with a Google Classroom. So what we started doing was videos of every subclass that is on the TABE that someone might need to know. So each individual, or our instructors divided those up, and now we have videos of every instructor teaching those subclasses that we actually can put on our Google Classroom and have them there. We honestly don't use the classroom very much anymore. It was more of a self-guided pace, but we have been able to change our classes now that we're
we started offering in-person hybrid models, basically. So if someone is out because they're in quarantine or a child's in quarantine or whatever, they can actually attend that exact same class remote from home. So therefore, they're getting the same instruction from the same instructor, so which seems the same time. All of that seems to be very, very important for us. So they can have it like a combination, basically, which has worked out well, like I said, for us. We do provide online proctored tape and ready tests, so someone can truly call us and never step foot in our center. We actually do all the proctoring through Zoom. We offer GED boot camps. I'm really looking into doing one for like TABE every so often. We haven't done the TABE yet. But GED boot camps, where it's basically 1 or 2 day sessions. Now, we took this pre-COVID, we did it, but it was like a 2-week period. It was like 7 days of intense math class, and then for a couple hours each day, and then on the 8th day, we would do the ready test, and then we would schedule the GED test. Of course, that was also before the OP testing. So now what we do is 1 or 2 sessions of just really the most likely to miss areas. And then if a student, after that 2 hours or so, if they want to do that ready test, we will go ahead and do that ready test. We encourage them to do that ready test. In a few situations, the student has been so pumped that we go ahead and schedule that GED, that OP test, and they've done really, really well with that. I don't try to encourage that 2 testing in a run of a day scenario, but we have had success with it. More so right now, too, we're doing a lot of one-on-one tutoring, and then immediately we'll schedule them for their GED test in-house, over at the testing center. And then we will go ahead and tutor with them prior to that, and that seems to be working really well. I wasn't crazy about that idea and really barked on it at first, but the instructors know best when I've got instructors that know best. I'm very blessed. I have got instructors that's been with us quite a while, very seasoned. Most of us come on board. I was in a different area at the college for 9 or 10 years, and then I was asked to go back in adult ed 10 years ago, and some of those people come along right after I did. So we've been very blessed to be together for a while. So we work like a well-oiled machine, basically, with us. We do something else that is others I'm sure are doing. We have set up OP testing locations, so we can always take a laptop and go here or there, wherever we need to. But we have actually got arrangements made with some of the churches, the extension offices, housing authorities, just different businesses in general, that it's basically, hey, if I ever need a student to come there to do OP testing, can you provide the internet? Let us provide the computer. We can actually meet them there. I've even loaned them my phone to get the pictures taken if they needed that. And then we step out and we're done, but we do help them along at least getting the OP started. So in our area, we're in one building over from our testing center, and we're not affiliated with that testing center. And I can't seem to sweet talk him into opening up late or on a Saturday or anything. I've tried. It doesn't work. So what we have done is there's one room in particular that we're able to use that isn't adjacent to us for OP testing. So we've been trying to utilize that. One of our sites in Graves County, instead of having the students drive that extra 20 minutes, they can actually go there. There's an office set up that's nothing else in it but a laptop, and they can actually do their OP testing there. So we've really tried to make the OP testing really accessible to everyone. For instance, in Graves County that I just mentioned, we had 7 GEDs come from there last year from that county. As of right now, we have 6 already on the books for them. So the OP testing is really, really working in that area. So we do a lot of hand-holding basically with the OP test, because we don't want someone to get home and then get frustrated because they don't have any support from us. So we try to hand-hold that a little bit. We have, piggybacking on Diane again, we have really tweaked our orientation to where they know from the beginning our expectations. So and we encourage people, if you're 9 months pregnant and you've got a baby due next week, let's wait until you have that child. Think about this. Ones that every one of us know these people, the ones that have come to us for year after year after year after year, and they get over 12 hours, but they're never going to get to 40, and they're going to screw our program somehow or another, then I have a really hard talk with them, and it's like, why are you doing this? What do let's figure this out. And then I threaten them with bodily harm if they don't show up. And I have one, I'm going to kick him in the knee when I see him, because he stood us up yet again. We try to call our students when they start missing classes. So we reach out right then. Now I will say we're kind of picky. If they're still at 7 or 8 hours and they're missing, then it's more of they're going to see me before they come back situation, because I don't want to get someone back if they got 7 or 8, 9 hours. I want to keep them out until they're committed. But if someone has over that 12 hours or more, then we start calling them and trying to offer different solutions or different times of classes, because maybe it's the time of class, things like that, to try to help them along. And as soon as we used to have class cycles, and I just found out like a month ago from somebody that was a Cody thing from the past, and I really don't have to have those 5-week cycles necessarily, like I had thought that we did. I'm kind of old school, so unless I really hear it said, you don't have to do this, we're going to do it. So anyway, we've kind of changed now to we're watching everyone, and as soon as they get to 40, we're doing that post-test right then. If it's a ABE student, at least, we try to get that post-test out of the way right then, instead of waiting for the whole class to be ready, because you're going to lose someone when you do that. And if someone is close to getting a gain, I do the same thing. I do that, how many points are they in reading? How many points are they in math before they're going to get that level gain? So whichever one is closest wins. That's the test they take first. We have seen, even if someone is really, really close in math, but reading is the only class they're attending, a lot of times if I post-test in that math first, they're still going to get that gain, because that reading knowledge has helped them with the reading problems. So we always do that. I never ever post-test 2 tests in one day, unless the second one unless we didn't get a gain. If we didn't get a gain on the first one, let me say that, then we're never going to post-test for that second test on that day, because I want them to be fresh. So if they got a gain on the first one and the second one is strictly for diagnostic purposes, then I'm okay with doing that. But we're really cautious with when we do that. My instructors also take the READY test, and I put regularly, and then I'm like, I don't know if it's considered regularly, but once a year, twice a year, or once a year, once every 2 years, they will take those READY tests again. Because the tests do come in and out, and some are heavier, like science especially. It may be heavy on reading one time, and it might be heavy on math the next. So they're familiar with what they need to be teaching. So not teaching to the test, but the skill set that they need to be teaching. So we really do that. We know our students really well. We don't. I'm loving this program that you guys are talking about. We don't have that. We just run CARES reports constantly and talk about the students every day and try to make sure that we know something personal about each one. So, and for some reason, I can't remember what I ate for breakfast, but I can remember those students. So if a student tells me, I'm doing this because, Grandma's really sick and I want to get this GED before Grandma dies, Then if the student goes missing, I'm going to call them, I'm going to check on them and ask how they're doing. I'm going to check on grandma at the time, and as long as grandma is still alive, then I'm going to use that against them. Then get your butt in here because she was sick 6 months ago. So, you know, we do that, I do that an awful lot. I do that a whole bunch. We do watch our run rate, like someone else said, basically. So I know at this point I need 9 GEDs each month to get to my goal. So we have that on a huge board, one of those stick-up boards, and you know, we keep a running tally of that, and we're all like juveniles when we get a GED and hoop and holler and carry on and call them and make a huge deal out of it. I'm not near as good as Diane Kelly, but yeah, not near that good, but we do try to encourage them. So, any questions?